this is your week, right? So we'll do it week one. We have 12 points left of people that haven't been able to speak publicly. Remember, I told you that I want you to be able to respond to all of your questions, so we can do one of the things. We can all agree that we're going to listen to the 12 and then stay for 45 minutes while I respond, or in a half hour if I talk quick. Or we can do is end the questions right now. I can respond. And then the 12 that have not had a chance to ask, I will stay after, and my team will stay after so we get you an answer to your questions. So we're going to do this. So how many people want to end the question period right now and get a response? Just raise your hand. How many people want to go on? Okay, I'm gonna take that as we go ahead, and I'm gonna respond, and then we will do, again, for the 12 people that did not have a chance, please know that I will stay here to each one of you has an opportunity. I'm gonna walk to the center of the room, please come stand in line. I'll have a staff member standing next to me, I'll listen to every one of your questions, and then we'll get you an answer to the extent that we can. Good? Amen? Amen. Thank you. Watch your ears. All right, good. Let me see if I can just kind of run through these as quickly as I can. And again, if I cannot answer the question for you because I don't have the information, I'm going to point you to somebody over there who knows more about this. All right, Reggie, where are you? Reggie's in the back. Now, Reggie, you're in all kinds of districts, right? So we're going to do another one in C, and we got this from the St. Rock Park, okay? So one of the things we try to do is listen to the extent that's possible about what happens. Now, there was a big hullabaloo about getting the pools open, right? And so there were original plans in St. Rock. There were some neighborhoods that wanted the pool in St. Rock refurbished. That's how it became part of the design. Now, if the neighbors don't feel that, that's thing in design right now. There's a timeline on it. Cedric, I want y'all to see Cedric Grant, Deputy Mayor for Infrastructure. Cedric, stand up because I'm going to point to you a couple different times. Reggie, you might want to talk to Cedric about it, and let's kind of get on the same page. Lucas Diaz, who's the head of a new Office of Neighborhood Engagement, will be involved with you. So, Reggie, why don't y'all talk about it, and we'll figure it out. But there is money allocated to that project. It's in the list, and there's a design going forward. And, we've been out there a couple of times with you, so if y'all want to go in a different direction, y'all gotta tell us now. All right, Mr. Darrell Ward, where are you? I didn't write down what you told me. I can't believe I did that. Huh? Oh, he didn't speak. That's why I didn't do that. Y'all thought I was, because we couldn't find him. Is Darrell Ward room? Okay. Mr. ATM, Lighted House next door. Thank you so much. Mr. Who's here for? Well, Laura Singer, will you please see her and tell her again where your Lighted House is? Now listen, Laura, you see her, raise your hand. Y'all talked about this. Now, I want to say two things to you. A lot of Laura is her name. A lot of people talked about specific things you want to fix at your house. A pothole in front of your house or a blighted house next door. Myrna, where are you? You talked about this. There is, remember, we got 60,000 blighted houses, right? It's a huge problem that we're all trying to work through. So they're going to look into each one of those things specifically for you, and we're going to deal with it. And I'll just point you to the person. All right. We got a couple of questions about St. Bernard, right, from Fillmore all the way to Robert E. Lee. Now, I'm being told by my able council member that the reason that happened, I don't know that this is true, so I want to check it for. Where's the surgeon water board? Marcia? Marcia, you with us? There were some issues in the planning way back when about some difficulties with the drainage and sewage. Is that something that's related to you guys? Or not? It is, right? And so evidently, I don't know the full answer to your question. So for everybody who's worried about it, will you please talk to Marcia, and Cedric about that? Because when they were doing the original designs on that thing, there were some complications. So let me scare you a little bit, just so that y'all know. Before the storm hit, right, we had been in a fight with the federal government and about water coming out of our pipes underneath the ground. Then Katrina hit, and it made more holes. All right, so there are a lot of holes in all the pipes in every street, in every neighborhood in the city. So I'm gonna give you a number that's not gonna make you happy, and it should. but we're bleeding about 40% of our water every day. All right, now I'm going to give you a number, and this one's going to scare you too, just so that you know. And let's see if I'm wrong on this, please send me. But if we fix all the pipes in the city all at one time, it costs about $14 billion. Right? So we obviously don't have an answer to that question for you tonight, but something that we're aware of. Now, we meet with FEMA all the time to try to get them to pay us for the holes that Katrina created. Cedric's team has met with FEMA 271 times in the last 400 or so days that we've been here. No kidding. And we continue to work with something drives me crazy. I know it drives you crazy too. You're driving down the street, there's some water bubbling up from under the street, and you're not sure about how long that sinkhole is going to be there before it falls. So Surgeon Water Board comes out, they dig it out, disrupt the street for a little while, right? Then they put stuff back on it, and they don't put that asphalt on it anymore, they put rocks. And then they don't come back for a while. And then when they finally get back and they get that, down the street, another hole bubbles up. And then another hole bubbles up, right? Well, what we're trying to do with FEMA is say, look, because we, for those of you who work with them, if something's 50% damage plus one, they got to fix the whole thing. If it's under 50%, they only have to fix the thing that's broken. So we're trying to talk about the 50% plus one thing with FEMA. And in the meantime, what we're doing is we're trying to come to an agreement where if there are 3 holes, right, in the sewer over a certain length of time, they fix that whole street. They fix all the pipes and they fix the street. We've been doing that. But we've been going neighborhood by neighborhood. Now, I just want to kind of throw this out there. The federal government right now is having this big fight about not spending any money, right? Y'all need to pay attention to that. Because when that pot gets smaller, they're going to send us a note saying, all that hurricane recovery money, you know what? That's going to get smaller. And we're fighting back against that. And we continue to fight with them to find ways to completely redo the drainage system and the sewage system. We're meeting with some success, not nearly where we want to be. Y'all know what it's like, fighting with them. They've been much, much better over the last year, but that's a big, big number. And we're going to keep working on that. But on those notes, where you have one-offs, where there's a drainage problem outside, right, or you got a sewer problem, you got a pothole, that's either Cedric or that's Marcia. But we're going to find an answer for you on the long-term project because we got to finish the St. Bernard piece, right, from Fillmore all the way to Robbie Lee, because I know that kind of sounds a little strange to do one part of the street, not the other. All right, Cliff Dugard, Cliff Randall. Okay, city earnings tax. I'm commiserating with you. I'm empathetic. I hear you, right? I think it makes a lot of sense. But you know what? Memorially, I tried that. Remember? And we tried to get around it by not calling it an earnings tax. Makes perfect sense to me, right? That if folks are coming in and using your stuff, that they ought to pay a little something for it, especially when they're getting the benefit. Now, that just kind of makes common sense. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court has ruled maybe once, maybe twice, that that's unconstitutional. So we tried to get around that some years ago, for those of you who remember, and they tried to do like a parcel fee, right? And they said, man, look, if it looks like a duck and acts like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. I think they actually wrote that in the opinion. And so they said, we can't do that. So I want you to know it's a good idea, but I think that unless our able-bodied lawyer, our new city attorney can figure that out, I think we kind of stuck on what the Supreme Court told us. But we're always continuing to look. All right, a couple of other things. Malcolm. All right, first source, Malcolm, you raised some excellent points. I know that our staff has met with you a number of times about this issue. Amy Court, Judy, Reese Walsh, Judy's right here, Norman Foster, on the pilot program. So this is whether it's that particular one or another one. A number of people have raised this issue, saying, look, we got to put people back to work. That's the best way to kind of get us out of where we are. So you may have read the other day that I had the chance to go to Chicago and meet with Mayor Daley and Mayor Emanuel about some of the work that they were doing, especially with ex-offenders, right? And so we got to have reentry programs, and we're going to continue to work on that. We got a lot of grass that needs to be cut. We have a lot of stuff that needs to be done. There are other jobs. The ex-offender program is an excellent one they want to work on. Also, Job One, critically important. We're going to get you together with Job One because we got plenty of people that need work. All right. And so is somebody here from Job One? All right. Nadia, where are you, Nadia? Nadia, please show me. Mike Schiff. All right, you see that dude standing over there. Will you guys talk? So here's the thing about jobs. I want you to think through this just conceptually. Let's talk about the new Veterans Administration Hospital. All right, the VA is building the first hospital that they've built in the country in a long, long time. They're building it here. It's going to have a lot of jobs in it. All right, so let's just hold that for a second, and then let's go over to the feet. All right, there's a new housing piece going on there. Now we know who's living there, right? So what we want to do is, in I don't know, 18 months, the VA is going to open up. Now, when that building opens up, there's going to be people working in that building. What we want to do is get together with the State Department of Labor, the Federal Department of Labor, Job One, all of our folks, and identify exactly the jobs that are going to be available. Get together with Delgado and all of the other folks that train, and begin to train people now for the jobs that are going to be available, right? Because people say, I don't have training. That's one of the things. And so med techs, phlebotomists, doctors, nurses, everything that goes on. We want to be able to create a pathway to prosperity, right? But the systems are not in place to do that. So we need to create the system. Y'all will notice President Obama picked us to be part of this thing called SC2, Strong Cities 2, where they're actually going to send federal folks from Washington. These are not folks that work down here. These are folks from up there that can sit with us in City Hall and make sure that the federal government is being directly responsive to the things that we need. So all of these funding programs, we're going to take advantage of them right away. And then we're going to connect that piece. Then we're going to do the ex-offender piece, right? Then we have to do the capacity piece. So minority contractors, right? What do they say? They say, I don't have access to capital. I need somebody to lend me some money, right? Because the banks, they got all that money from the federal government to tighten it up. So I don't know if y'all saw it or not, but we had Goldman Sachs coming here, right? This big financial firm, and they actually created a partnership with us. So we took 31 small businesses, women, the local minority-owned businesses, and what did we do? We said we got to train. So we created an executive management program at Delgado, 6 months aggressive program, put them through it. And then when they came out of the other side of it, Goldman Sachs made $21 million in capital available. And if you went through that program, it's like going to your banker and asking to borrow money. If you went through that program, they were more likely to say yes than no. So each one of these businesses, and you know many of them, right? One was martial arts, one was termite eradication, one was blight reduction, one was demolition, right? All of those folks, they actually went and borrowed money, and each of those folks have added 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs, and out of that program alone created about 100 new jobs, and we just did that in the last 6 months. So those kinds of programs we continue to work on now. If somebody in this room has a smarter, faster way, right? You got a couple of jobs and you want to hire some folks and you need some help, I need whoever's in here to talk to us so that we can completely make the connection and create that pathway. So a lot of times the different pieces are out there, but nobody knows how to connect them. So what our team wants to do right now is connect all those dots and to make sure that we do that, because I can just tell you this, we know this, everybody knows this. And somebody talks about enrichment programs after school. If we keep kids in good schools with good teachers learning, or after school in enrichment programs, right? So they're not running the streets. Or if your teenagers during the summer working, or if you get out of school or path to the next thing, you know what? The whole city is going to be fine. If we can't interrupt that nothingness that we have out there, where everybody's hanging out on the corner, got nowhere to go, nothing to do, then we got a problem, no matter how nice the buildings are that we build in the schools. And so we're on that like gravy on rice. If anybody's got any specific ideas or pathways for us, let us know, and we'll work with you. All right? Welcome. Thank you. Let's see. All right, Lydia Riley. I agree with you. It's got to be frustrating as all get out to talk to Nora and then to have 4 years. All right, you got an issue with Nora. Who's here with Nora? All right. Where are you, Miss Lydia? You still with us? Okay. Would you talk to that young lady? All right. And y'all can talk about it, but Ms. Nora had a long list. I can't go through all of them, but she did a lot in 2 minutes. She talked about pothole schools, shopping in Jefferson Parish. I hear you. Right, we're working hard on retail right now in New Orleans. And so Gentilly shopping, who asked about Gentilly? Walmart, Walmart, I'm sorry? Yeah, everybody. So we're working, because I know, I live here too, right? And I get tired of going to Jefferson Parish. We're working on retail, right? It's a big, big issue for the city of New Orleans because it's amazing that the retail outlets have not been coming back, and we're hustling them and working them and trying to get to convince them to come back into the city, and we'll keep doing that until we get that right. All right. All right, Mr. Gordon, you want a good partnership with the Recovery School District. And Mr. Gordon made a really brilliant comment, and we all know this to be true. We're really happy that we're getting all these new buildings. But I don't know about y'all, but the school that I went to St. Matthias on Broad Street in the 13th Ward. There wasn't nothing nice about that school. I mean, it was all right, but it didn't have computers, right? It was hot. It was hot. Right, it wasn't 98 degrees, but it was hot, right? And so what's happened is more important than the building is what happens in it. And he talked about programming. So we all know this after Katrina too, right? When our churches got beat to death and our houses went away, we realized that it wasn't the building, right? Although the building was important, it's really about friendships and, relationships and all that stuff. And so on the programming side, it's really important. I don't know if we have anybody. Is anybody here from the RC tonight? But I hear you. Oh, Loretta, I'm sorry. We have one of our Bessie board members. We got to go stand up so you can see you. Loretta Gibbons. I'm sorry, I didn't see you coming. But it's a great point, and we'll continue to talk to them about that. All right. Robert Claver, thank you for starting us off with the prayer. God bless you. I appreciate that. We needed that. All right, Raphael. All right, right now, as we speak, we have a couple of people in San Salvador, El Salvador, talking to TACA Airlines about doing a direct flight. So this is about our relationship with South and Central America. He talked about Cuba. We had a team of folks in Cuba last week, actually, talking about the same exact thing. So South and Central America were at one time a huge trading partner for the city of New Orleans. For those of you that may not remember this, Ochsner Hospital, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whenever, all the people from South and Central America would come actually to New Orleans to get their health care. Before Miami took a lot of our poor stuff, right, all of that stuff came through us. And so we're trying to reestablish our relationship with Cuba, with Brazil, with Mexico. We've got a couple of discussions going on with some major folks in Mexico that bring actually moving some major manufacturing plants here. So we appreciate that, and I thank you for your discussion. All right, Carolyn, this is Indian Village. So Cedric and Marcia, can y'all again stand up? Where's Miss Sarden? Okay, those are the folks I'd like you to talk to tonight about drainage, all right, in Indian Village. All right, Miss McDermott. Well, Miss McDermott is 80 years old. Miss McDermott, where are you? Still with us? Oh, she did. All right, so Chief Serpents, we got two of these. All right, the duck off is a bad place, and the council lady wanted to make a quick comment about that.
There are several neighborhoods that have the same problem. The duck off is just one of them, and that is that it's the activities that go on there. It is very difficult, and my office has worked as closely as we can with the Alcohol and Beverage Committee to try to take away license for these kinds of bars, neighborhood bars. But we wind up going to court, and we're not successful all the time. So I think it's an issue that we're going to have to get with the city attorney on and find out if there is another way that we can get these alcohol licenses away from these individuals that are really causing numerous problems. I told the mayor that I would be willing to have a ticket book if the police chief would give one to me. And I don't mind driving down AP2 and putting tickets on cars that are parked on the median. We have laws on the books. We have laws on the books for 18-wheelers, for school buses parked in our neighborhoods, for these big trucks that are parked in our neighborhoods where people are parking their business trucks in our neighborhoods. There is a law on the book that was passed before I became a council person that says you can be fined up to $500 a day. But if the 3rd district and the 7th district and the 5th district don't have ticket books, they can't go out and ticket these guys. And I think the problem is, and it's something that we need to work with, getting a connection between the police department and the parking meters people, because a lot of times these things happen late at night. So it's difficult to get a meter maid to come out and do it. And it would be better if we had a quality of life officer that we could send out to do it. But if not, they can give me the ticket book. I'll be glad to ride around and do it, Mr. Mayor.
Hang on 1 second. Just so that you, if I can just point you to some folks that might be able to help you. Each one of the districts. So we have the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th here, Chief. We got the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. All right. So I want these folks to stand up. The commander, Henry Dean, where are you? All right. All the commanders, Henry Dean, raise your hand. So that's the 3rd, and he's got a COCO officer, community coordinating officer, and a quality of life officer. Where are they? With you, they're with you. All right, Henry Dean's the 3rd district. So if you got a quality of life officer, all right. Also, Commander Chris Goodley, Commander Goodley, raise your hand. All right, that's the 3rd, and the 7th is Commander Miles. Commander's nice to see you. These guys are responsible for those districts. Each one of them. Thank you. I got to consider now that y'all see them. All right. Coordinating officers, quality of life officers, this is your contact. Now, the second issue on that is on the enforcement. So, Mike, you talked before, right? Mike said, "I'm a small business owner, right? I need to get rid of regulation. I've been trying to get an alcohol beverage control permit, right? Blah blah." All right. So now you see the other side of it, right? There's an ABO operating. It's crazy in the neighborhood. The neighbors want it down. You try to go get it back from them. All of a sudden, you got a whole bunch of stuff in between. And so I think what these folks get stuck on sometimes is making sure that if you're going to give out an ABO permit, right, it's given out right, the restrictions are right, and when you need to get it back, you can get it back without having getting filed in a lawsuit. And so there's a tension, there's a natural tension that exists between those two things. That's been going on forever. We can do a much better job in partnership with you of enforcing, all right, ABO outlets. We have the ability to put more teeth in that, and we should do that. In terms of enforcement, we've got a couple of different enforcement issues that our team needs to work on. Some people talked about Howard, you talked about parking, right, at Pontchartrain Park, and then telling them, well, we don't write tickets, the parking control officers write tickets. We all got to figure out a way about how to cite folks that are doing the wrong thing, and then make sure that the cases go to court and that the hearings don't get continued, and that when there is a fine, and another gentleman talked about this, he talked about the increase in the sanitation fee, right? You got to go make sure, yes, sir, that people that owe money, pay money. So if you got a ticket, right, or you owe a tax, right, or whatever it is, he makes the point, why you're adding taxes if you're not collecting. Right, good point. And so all of this is kind of tied together, and we will continue to address those issues as we have. Brad talked about two things. I know he wanted to talk about Charity Hospital, but he behaved himself. He was talking about the psych availability. So we got mental health issues, post-traumatic stress disorder. We have lost a lot of inpatient beds. Dr. Karen DeSalvo, where is Dr. Karen? Dr. Karen DeSalvo is a health commissioner, Brad. I completely agree with you about the psych beds. You know, the state took some beds out of the New Orleans Adolescent Hospital, moved them over to the North Shore. We're fighting hard, right, to get them back. Now, you asked a question about the council's parliamentary rules. I don't know the answer to that question. You want to answer that question briefly, council member?
Well, first, Mr. I am not budget chair. I was budget chair, but I'm not budget chair now. Mr. Falco is budget chair, and we will have to find another budget chair, so I don't know who it's going to be. But when I was budget chair and we did the budget last year, I remember you were there, and you know I stayed till the end, and everyone got a say. I am on the budget committee, and I will guarantee you that I will sit there again this year, and everyone will get a say, because it is very important that you do participate in listening to what proposals are, and so that we can look at and make community and the legislative branch together a decision of what are our priorities. But I just wanted to correct you on that. I did enjoy being the budget chair, but I'm not there now.
Thank you. I'll make a brief comment about this because we're doing it tonight. We asked everybody to keep their comments to 2 minutes. Everybody wonderfully did it. If someone says, well, I don't really want to follow the rules, I want to talk for 10 minutes, what it means is somebody else doesn't get a chance to talk. So when you're doing public meetings, there is a balance, again, that you just have to find. I know the council's working through that, and I'm sure they will. That's different from cutting off the beat. And you've seen this in many public hearings. It's just it's one of those things that I know the council will work through and will be sensitive to. So, Brad, thank you for raising those. You've been a great advocate. Mr. Aguilar, I talked a little bit a minute ago about the fee. Mr. Aguilar said, we raised the sanitation fee. We did. Because the last time it was raised was like in 1984 or something. Just so that you know the numbers, it actually costs you $23 to pick up the garbage, and we were only paying 12. So you can run this math, right? If it really costs us $23 to pick it up, and we're only charging everybody 12, the $800,000 a month, that's what that equals, has to come from someplace else. So one of the things we tried to do was overall just to raise that up. Now, Mr. Angel raises a good point about there's some people that can't afford that, and should we look at changing the poverty rate, right, so that it's consistent with the federal, we'll look at that. I wasn't aware of that, but I will. The other thing he says is absolutely right. And one of the things y'all gave us more money to do this year was actually go out and collect what people owe. Now, we're in the process of doing this. So I don't know if y'all saw in the paper, but there was somebody in the French Quarter that owned a really nice, fat, happy business, and they were making a lot of money, and they weren't paying their taxes. We went and took their stuff. We took this guy's Bentley. We took his car. If anybody wants to buy a Bentley, we got one for sale, and we got it, right? Yeah, so and all of that stuff. So we're doing much more on it. The other day, right, this here was Norman Frost, our chief financial officer on the center. Norman's responsible for this. His task is to go out and collect every dollar that is owed by the city, the people who do whatever they do. And so this is the same issue with blight. This is an enforcement issue, right? Are you catching the dump trucks going down the road? Are you collecting the taxes that are owed? Are you making sure everybody does what they're supposed to do in the ADA? That's an enforcement thing that we have to get a lot better at, because I got news for you, and y'all know this. And anybody throw me out of here when I tell you this. We're not that used to following the rules in the city of New Orleans. It's not something that really we do well, because everybody's so again, I say this to you because y'all are telling me, Mitch, you gotta go out there and get tough and enforce the law. But let me tell you what happens. Every time that happens, somebody knocks on the side door and says, "Hey, I know, but seriously, do I really have to?" Yeah, you do. Right? So if y'all are giving me permission to kind of say, "Okay, it is what it is," then when everybody says screaming and yelling, then I just need help. I just need somebody standing behind me. All right, Mr. Garcia, thank you so much for your comments. Two things: we need more police presence. I agree. And the second thing, he says speed up on the blight, and I just say amen to that. Nobody's going fast enough for me, because we got a long way to go. We got a lot to do, and it's a huge problem. I don't know about y'all, but it really bothers me. When you ride down the street, you got grass growing all over the place, and people are not taking care of their property. I can tell you that I ride around the city all the time. I give them fits on a Monday morning when I go in. I say, man, who owns that building? Right on Claiborne Avenue between Jackson and Washington, that used to be a Kentucky Fried Chicken that's all painted black now, and it's got all kinds of weeds over. Go find that person and go get them. Tell my city attorney that all the time. Who's that guy that's got all those blighted properties with his names over? Go find a way to bring him to municipal court and prosecute him. Who owns a building or whatever? We do that all the time, right? We need to have more resources, and we got to get better, and we have to be very aggressive. A lot of people bought property in this city and left, and they left that property, right? These are not people that got sent out after Katrina. These are people like that bought property way back when in the day, and they decided to go someplace else, and then they just leave their property. We're going to go after them and get them, all right, because we have to. We just got to do a lot faster, and we got to do a lot better. All right, parks. So here's what happened. When we came into office, we found out that there was a list of what we wanted to spend money on. When you added up all the money on the parks and all this stuff, it equaled $1.2 billion. We didn't have $1.2 billion. We had a lot less than that. So we had to decide what were the most important 100 projects. Some parks got put in that, some parks didn't. Union Park, to my knowledge, did not get put in that. That doesn't mean that we can't find money to do it this year or next year or the year after, but that's how we went through. So when we came into office, there were a lot of things in play already. We didn't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but what we figured out, right, was where were the parks that were kind of moving in the right direction. So in Union Park, this is for neighbors. You have a park in the area you want to fix. I think you made the comment that you don't like Kaboom. Okay, where? But, right, you pay taxes. But let me tell you, can I tell you about Kaboom for a second? Because this is something that I want you to really think about. In the future, trying to find ways to do more with less and to find other partners. So Kaboom has helped us rebuild about 60 playgrounds. They're a great partner, and right. So what they do is they help our tax dollars go further. So what Kaboom does, and there are other people that do this, but this is kind of the idea. The neighbors get together. We get a bunch of volunteers. Man, Joelle, where's our volunteer coordinator? She's right here. Kaboom says we'll get somebody to donate the equipment. She gets the volunteers. All of a sudden, we get out there, right? We plan it for a couple of weeks, and then we build a brand new situation for kids, and we do it a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. So what could take 2 years and cost $300,000 might take 3 months and cost $40,000. Just Mary Jo, Mary Jo. So would y'all talk about union and see if there's something that we can do with the neighbors? And if not, there's a possibility that can fit back into the capital projects going forward, because that's not the end of the road. It's just the beginning. But I get y'all to think about anything you can do relating to that. All right, let's see. Mr. Williams, what about Gentilly Wood Shopping Center? I'm going to let the council member tell you the work that she's been doing out there and the announcement that we made the other day.
I'm clarifying this before I announce it. I wanted to make sure that we did hold the final. Walmart is coming to Gentilly Woods, so. And I know that it's been a long time, but as I told Mr. Mayor, when I did talk to them, and one of the things I told them is that we in District D and in that neighborhood particularly would like to see them go in instantly and tear down. Now, we understand it's going to take about a year to build everything, if I'm not mistaken. But the great thing about it is it's not dependent on us getting any federal grants. It's their dime. So that, in essence, was one of our major concerns, because there just isn't enough money out there to help people that want to develop, and they want the federal government or they want the city to put up money. So Walmart will be coming there. If there's anybody sitting here from New Orleans East, this in no way, and we want to really make sure we say this over and over again to you, this in no way has anything to do with the Walmart that is coming to the east. That is still happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership on that. I appreciate it. And they're going to be once that anchors that place, right, that's going to really be a lot of help to bring in other retailers there as well. All right, Michael, I heard you about small business. So, politicians get patted on the back all the time for running off to other countries and bringing back a company and says, oh man, we created, a bunch of thousands of jobs, right? That's what everybody does, and they go all over the place. And we got people that do that. We got people that are constantly trying to get firms that are in somewhere else to move here. So like out of Michigan, right, we brought in a company called TCI. We brought in a company called Blade Dynamics, an international company that manufactures wind turbines. We expanded Folgers. We created about 1,000 jobs. So you see a higher Regency is now moving downtown. So we do that every day. And that's really important work. We call that economic development. Now I'm going to tell you about economic growth, because this is actually more important. You know that story I told you about Goldman Sachs? Taking businesses that already exist, and Michael taking your business and working with you, giving you the tools that you need, right? Giving you the expertise that you maybe think that you don't have enough of. Do I know enough about finance? Do I know enough about marketing? Do I have the capacity? What can I do in terms of job training to give you the capacity to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs, small businesses? That's where the future of New Orleans is, because that's the thing that seals in our authenticity. It comes from the street. And it makes perfect sense. So if Michael can add 1, 2, or 3, 4 jobs, and especially if it's an ex-offender, right? And it's in a reentry program, man, you get a double. So we're going to work with you. I want to talk to you. I want you to talk to Medea again to make sure that we plug you in. If there's anybody else, now, Mike raised a couple of other issues that I thought were really interesting. He said, man, I got too much red tape. But his red tape is you trying to get a liquor license. I know, I hear you, but I talked a little bit about that. But another one is when he comes to City Hall, who do I talk to? How many offices do I need to go to? I got a zoning issue. People spinning me around. I'm going across the street. They tell me so. I want you to meet Michelle. Michelle is our deputy mayor for operations. She's been tasked with creating a one-stop shop. So when Michael comes in, somebody goes up to him and says, man, look, I'm your guy. I want to help you. What do you need? I'm going to navigate you through this building because I know it'll make your head spin, right? And we want to help you fix it. So small businesses need that. And then the other thing is on capacity. Here's a big, he needs to borrow money at a reasonable rate so he can invest it in his capital. And we're working on that piece too, right? Just a little bit. Well, it would be better if you don't have to borrow any. But it's okay. If you can get cheap money, you can borrow money at 2%. You know, that's a good thing. Just don't borrow more than you can handle. You got to make sure that you borrow enough that you can pay back. That's why the federal government's in trouble. So we gotta keep working on that. All right, and finally, let me tell you what he said. I've heard this a lot. Don't pave my street. Do not pave my street. Why? Why? Why don't you want me to pave your street? Somebody told me this on Magazine Street the other day because Magazine Street's got the same problem that New Orleans Street has. They stopped paving Magazine Street in Henry, somewhere around there. And so, and it's a mess. But the guy said, Mr. Man, don't you dare pave my street. And I said, why? Well, same thing, because people, when they go slow, they see my business. And by the way, when they pave it, it takes them too long to do. My business is going to close. So we hear both ways. So hurry up and pave my street, don't pave my street. So we got to work that out and understand that, right? A little bit better. But anyway, thank you, Mike, for pointing those out. Mr. Falgu, okay. Now, where is Ann McDonald? Ann McDonald, do we have private contractors cutting our grass? We have seasonal private contractors. Mostly, the grass is cut by city employees. All right, but sometimes when we get overburdened and we need help, we do private contracting. All right, right? Right, and we have a lot of those, a lot of reentry work that we do through Park and Parkway. So I thank you for that. And by the way, you may not know this, but when you come to City Hall now, right, if you take a right on Perdido Street, right there is a big old garage that's got a lot of spaces in it that you can park in. Remember where the state office building used to be? All right, right there, lots of spaces in there. And you're absolutely right. We got too many police people parking in no parking spaces. Not just the police chief, but safety and permits, everybody. No. Ain't nothing for free. Ain't no free lunch. Right? Um, okay, Miss Adams, you gave me about 6 things. Too much shooting, too much blight, need after school enrichment, need more affordable housing, and we got to get to the side, all of the side streets. We talked about all of those things tonight already. You're completely right about that. Can I just give you my little 2 cents on murder? Okay, we got something really bad happening in the city. It's happening all over America, but we got it here more than other places. And the murder rate, it's unnatural. It's out of control. We got to get a handle on it. We had 179 murders last year. We're on target. We're right where we were last year. No better, no worse. But what we had last year was bad. And so we got to get a handle on this. 88% of the murders are happening between young men who know each other. All right? They know each other. And it's a result of, well, a little bit of drugs, but mostly not knowing how to resolve conflicts and guns. And this is something that has been, we got to do a much better job at all of this. So, yeah, we got to fix the schools. Yeah, we got to get jobs. Yeah, we got to do all this stuff, but we got an immediate problem. All right, and we got to work on this from every different level, and there ain't no finger pointing going on here. This is just all hands on deck issue. It's unnatural. It doesn't have to be this way. It can change. It can change, right? But we got to kind of all do that together. And everybody here has talked about that in one way or another tonight. So it's just important, no matter which side you're on. All right, Mrs. Cruz, she talked about our son. Where's Miss Cruz? She talked about the size of the prison. Right, way back when, and I'm talking about when Charlotte 30 first started. Right, they built that prison really up. Before Katrina, they had 7,000 people. They had 7,000 women primarily, right? Mostly from New Orleans, living in their prison. And so Katrina knocked it all down, or some of it down, and now we're trying to figure out what the right size is that we need. The sheriff is making a proposal. I have created a task force. Andy Copeland, my chief administrative officer, stand up, Andy, so I can see you, is the head of this task force. We're working with the sheriff and all of the members of the criminal justice system to try to figure out how many beds we really need. Now, I know that we need pretrial diversion. I need that we don't need to arrest everybody. The chief and these guys have been arresting fewer people and giving folks citations rather than taking everybody to jail. right? We need more mental health. We need more substance abuse. We don't need to lock everybody up and throw away the key. We need to lock some people up and throw away the key, but not everybody. And we got to figure out which is which. And we're in the process of doing this. Ms. Cruz doesn't think we're going far enough. Other people have a different opinion. We're fighting through that right now. And we're going to come to a resolution in the next couple of months on that. Mrs. Valto, I love it when your daddy tells you something. When they know you said your daddy had a sugar ring. And I've heard this before from a bunch of primarily older guys, really kind of all over the city, said, man, you know what, you're not using the right material on those potholes. Y'all youngsters never learned how to do it like we did. And then we got to hear about how back in the day they filled the pothole that lasted 1,000 years. Y'all heard that story from your dad or your mom or somebody before? Well, it's kind of like that until Sherman's point they're right. So if you would, Cedric is right there. We're actually taking information. If people have a different technology they think that we should be using, right, to make a little bit more of an investment now to give us a long-term return, we're really open to hearing that. So please tell us a little bit more about that. The other thing about trash cans, I love that. What she said was in other cities that she goes to, right, they got more trash cans. So we tell people, first of all, we throw too much stuff on the ground. Can we all agree with that? Y'all don't need to raise your hand, but y'all, we throw too much stuff on the ground. We don't clean up as much as we should. All right, so that makes us more stuff to pick up. If there was less stuff to pick up, we could do a better job of it. So let's just everybody taking their responsibility for that. But having said that, I was at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I was in Los Angeles, and I went to a city park on purpose. I wanted to see what that park looked like. Man, about every 30 feet, they had a garbage can. And guess what? They had a plastic bag in the garbage can, too. And guess what? They actually had people that you could see that picked it up. Yeah, well, exactly. What? Y'all must be from my neighborhood. Cool street general person. That's exactly what you said. So I came back. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Did I not tell you all about this? Did I not tell you about it? So it makes great sense, right? We got to have more garbage cans, right? And we got to get better about taking care of our stuff. So I hear you. And we're going to do that. And the other thing, too, I love you, Miss Falto. Those blowers drive me crazy. Your neighbors out there picking this stuff and blowing this stuff right on your lawn. That don't work. And if we're doing that, we need to stop that. A good old rake. Don't cost you too much. Got a little bit of plastic on the end. Rake your stuff up. Get your shovel. Pick it up like your grandpa told you how to pick it up. If you don't do it right, don't do it at all. And put it in the bag. Right? So if we can pay attention to that, I appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Valto. All right, Miss Legault, I hear you. What she said was they came out and they fixed the streets and they only did it one way. And they forgot the other side of the street. All right, I hear you. There's some plans that are in City Hall that don't make any sense, and you think, now why do we do that? And nobody knows, except that the people on the street know that whatever was done, that just wasn't done right. Right? So we got to think about that when we get into future designs. Remember, didn't I tell you about the sewage and water board, $14 billion? The streets are much more than that. So do we know how many miles of street we have in the city? We have 1,600. Thank you, Cedric. How about that? We have 1,600 miles of street in the city. And listen, I got news for you. I know D thinks they're worse than any, and they think all the people in Lakeview think they got the worst streets. And then the people on the West Bank really think they got the worst streets. They're all bad. They're all go bumpity, bumpity, bumpity. Some of them are higher than others, right? And some of them are really got big holes in them, but we got a bad problem with infrastructure. So you actually hear the president talking a lot about this. And I think when he comes out with his jobs program, hopefully he's going to talk about an infrastructure bank so that we can borrow money, right, and work through coming up with a sustainable, this is what the word sustainable means to everybody who asks me. It doesn't mean anything fancy. It means being able to do something and keep doing it over a long period of time and have it pay for itself so that it can be sustained, as opposed to throwing a pothole and then having it open up the next day. That's not a sustainable model. And so that can be applied to neighborhoods as well. All right. Mrs. Burns, proud mama. We got some handsome sons. Ronnie Burns, her son, is the chairman of the board that's going to build a brand new hospital in New Orleans East. And he's doing a great job, so I appreciate that. She says she's got too many potholes, too much blight, and you got to fix the hump in the street. That's right across the street from that new library. Amen to all of those things. That library is going to be nice, though. Right, so that's a complaint that we've heard a number of different times tonight. So, Ms. Burns, if you can talk, right, to Cedric, would you talk to her about that bump in the street for me? I appreciate it. Okay, 25. I'm getting there. I'm almost finished. I got about 6 or 7 more. Gus, Lake Terrace Shopping Center on Paris and Robert E. Lee. Okay, so remember, I want y'all to think about this as y'all drive through the area. Right down the street on Robert E. Lee, I noticed on the way out here that Wendy's, there's a new Wendy's opened up. Right, the Walgreens is across the street now. But on the other side of the street, a nasty old, must have used to been a Kentucky Fried Chicken. It looks like the one on Claiborne Avenue. All right, I want y'all to focus on corners. They're really, really important in neighborhoods. And we're spending a lot of time making sure that the corners look much, much better. For those of you on Gentilly and Elysian Fields, that Walgreens, it's really nice, huh? Added a lot of value. So our place-based development, where are you? Place-based development bill talks to business owners all the times about when you go on, et cetera. So this falls into that. So this is really important to get this back up and operating. But remember I told you if you could borrow cheap money? There's some people who want money for free, right? So we only have so much community development block grant money, and somebody comes and they will have a nice press conference without talking to anybody and say, I'm building a shopping center, and the city's going to give me $5 million. Well, that's your money. That's Union Playground. That's the bump on Miss Burns' street, right? That's whatever it is. We got to have real business folks that come to us like Walmart and say, I didn't ask you to give me $20 million to build Walmart. We're going to build it ourselves. And finding that balance in all of these different areas has been very, very hard, especially as it relates to fresh food, right? So in Lower 9, in New Orleans East, in Gentilly Shopping Mall, et cetera, et cetera. So we're continuing to work really, really hard to make sure that we get the right business partners who, when they're given resources, they actually do it. So we have now about $5 million. We got a grant from the federal government to do something called a Fresh Food Initiative that's going to create an economic incentive, right? Like Circle Groceries, maybe, we hope, right? Lake Terrace, right? Et cetera, to do that. We're going to continue to work on that. We do not have a definitive tenant for that property yet, but the council lady talks to us every day about it, and our economic development folks are working on it. All right, Jesse Allen, the pipe is broke. Mr. Allen, you said you called the mayor's office. I hesitate to say whether you called it 3 years ago because you said you've been calling because we've only been there for a year. If you called us, I want to make sure that you're in touch with somebody. Are you here, Mr. Allen? Are you still here? Okay, if he makes himself known, Cedric, right, Mr. That sounds like that's you guys. Mr. Kennedy said the same thing. I talked about your issues already, right? We talked about job one. You talked about Bloomberg. Actually, we're using that Bloomberg money. Mayor Bloomberg, who you know, gets a little check for being the mayor, but he's got about $100 billion. And he did this nationwide competition, and we won, right? And he's sending us some money to work on two things: entrepreneurship and crime, jobs and crime. That's exactly what we're spending the money on. So you're very wise to notice that we got that. But it's just fortunate for us that we're actually doing the thing that you wanted us to do with that. And I talked a little bit about job one with Michael and Goldman Sachs. So if you have any other ideas, we would love to hear them from you. Myrna, where are you, Myrna Shelton? She's still here, 13th Ward girl. I don't know. She moved. She's actually from Dorbany Street, right off of Brewer Street, where I came from. She talked about blight, and she's exactly right. She talked about Fort Ernest, Charles, what's going on the east side of the industrial canal. We focus a lot here, right? Because this is D. I know you guys are D team, D as well. There's a lot going on in New Orleans East, and we continue to work on that. We know that we're building that hospital. That hospital's on go. We opened up the urgent care center 2 weeks ago. Dr. DeSalvo was out there actually taking care of patients. We've seen 400 patients in the last 2 weeks at that urgent care center. Joe Brown Park is in the middle of a substantial renovation. The library is about to get open. We're working on that TIF for the New Orleans East retail piece that we continue to push on really hard. I talked to you about TCI. I talked to you about Folgers. I talked to you about Blade Dynamics, all on the east side, right, of that bridge. We know we have more work to do. I know, but yes, sir. That's a very good point. A lot more. So yes, sir. No, I understand. Same thing about roads. Infrastructure improvements are a big, big need that we have. All right. Mr. Welsh, all right. Now, you and I just have a disagreement. All right, we have an office called ONE, Office of Neighborhood Engagement. Lucas Diaz is right there. Stand up, Lucas. He's got a team of people that crisscross the city. They meet with neighborhood organizations all the time. We have neighborhood involvement in everything that we do. You've got a different method that you want to use. We think ours is the one that's working very, very well. We just may have a disagreement about it. But the point is to meet with neighborhood organizations all the time, to listen, to hear, to work, to have a collaborative relationship. And we're going to try that out and see how we do. And we look forward to working with you. I hope you're open to doing it. Maria, you talked about Madonna 35. Does everybody know where this is? Right, and so it's right across the street from where the Youth Study Center is now. Now, there's a brand new high school that's going to get built there. There is a Nord playground that's immediately adjacent to it, and then the Youth Study Center is right next door. We're in what's called a consent decree grip with the federal government on that issue. Judge Linnell is the judge. We have to completely rebuild that facility. We have now worked with FEMA because FEMA only wanted to give us $12 million to fix that property. We've now gotten them to give us 30. And we're going to build a justice center, right? That not only has a youth study facility in it, but also has mental health, substance abuse education. And we're going to build it in a piece of property right door. So for those of you that, if you're looking at if you've been there, Hanno had a housing facility right next door. We're actually going to move it right over, and we're going to build a beautiful campus, and we're going to make sure that we do it in partnership. Imperial Drive, or moving it to just, it's right across the street. So it's going to be in the same vicinity, but we're going to do it in a way that's much, much nicer, and we're going to put the juvenile course in, right? So that we have wraparound services for all of the kids that go in there, and that's what the long-term program is going to be. We're going to, right, and it's also next to the interstate. It's tucked right in behind the interstate, and then hopefully one of the things I've asked Bill and these guys to do is open up those neighborhoods to the bayou. Right, the bayou used to be a barrier. What we want to do is make it an open door to City Park. Right, so folks can actually get to the bayou and do stuff on it, like they do in other parts of the bayou, and then have access to City Park and not have to walk on the overpass to get over there. So all that's in planning right now, and I think that's going to be a good story. So Maria, thank you for that, and she's got pothole issues. Where are you? Did you make sure that you talk to Cedric before you go? All right, Howard Roger, thank you so much. Howard talked about parking. So look, let me just kind of ask y'all a question. This is about enforcement. Now, y'all be careful before you answer this question, okay? If we're driving down Claiborne Avenue, all right, by Martin Luther King, or by Jefferson, or by Carrollton, all right, or we're on Orleans and we're right across the street from Zulu, or we're out on St. Bernard, or we're out in the east on Crowder, and they got people. You know what I'm about to ask, huh? And we got people parked on the neutral ground. Should we, it's illegal to park on the neutral ground. It's just a rule. Should we take people away or should we let people stay there? So I'm just saying you got to think about this because, right. So you got to think about when you get into enforcement, right, you got to enforce it everywhere and it's got to be equal. So I want you to think about that. Two-lane baseball games. That's what I said on Claiborne Avenue, right? I said that. I put that and I was alluding to the issue. I was being elusive. So anyway, y'all think about that. But Howard makes the point about safety. And so, right. So if we got a lot of kids, right, in the playground, and they got, all of our kids, they want to run in between cars and it gives you a heartache because you think nobody's going to be able to see them. We got to really be careful. But that gets to the issue, and Chief, I do want to talk to you about this. When you get into traffic enforcement, do you want police officers writing traffic tickets, or do you want them doing the more serious stuff, or do you want them doing both? And how do you do this with parking control officers? And who goes to the ABO outlets? Because when you go give tickets, if an authorized person didn't give that ticket and they go to court, the judge says, well, we needed an authorized person to do it. So we got to get all of that figured out. I'm not going to give you an answer tonight. I want y'all to think about it when we come back here, when y'all go to the budget meetings. Just give me your thoughts and your opinions about ways that we can skin that cat. All right, Tim, hey, how are you? Nice to see your data. You know that we're crazy about data, right? So you know Lucas Diaz. Lucas, would you talk to Timmy? And now you answer our questions about the data we have so that we can interact with you guys and that you can hold us accountable. But we want to be working on the same data set. So people tease us, they call us wonks and all that stuff. We just want to count what we're doing. And we just want to know whether we're getting better or not, or if we can. So the data is really important because, a lot of times we all think we know, but you don't really know unless you're relying on data because you can come up with all kinds of other stuff. But data, if you get it right, it really is a good measuring stick. So, Timmy, if you would work with Lucas, I would appreciate that. All right, and finally, Mr. Angelina Eldon, I met with John White today. Right, I meet with him regularly. I'll bring this issue to his attention. She talked to us, if you forgot, about the heat index that's at John Madonna and 100 degrees and kids being unsafe. Absolutely, we'll talk to him about it. I agree with you, and we will bring that to his attention. But that's not OPSB. You're talking about RSD, but Morello's here as well, and we'll continue to make sure that we have safety issues for all of those folks. Okay, did I miss anybody? I'm sorry. I tried to answer everybody. I don't know if I got everybody's. You got yours. I'll answer that if you want me to. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I did miss you. I apologize. All right. Cedric, do we know anything about what the Body Friend Park? I'm sorry. Would you talk to Cedric Grant? I'm sure there's an answer to that. I don't know what the answer is. Malcolm says that in order for the police department to reform itself, I have to fire everybody that was ever there. Literally, what he wants me to do is fire the chief, right? None of them. Him and everybody else. Okay. All right. Malcolm and I have a disagreement about this. All right. But I think I did a national search. Yes, it's true. Chief Surpass was here some years, but here 12 years ago. All right. We have a whole new command structure. I'm going to assure you of this. I promise you. All right. My number one priority, Malcolm, my number one. I know you don't believe me, and it's okay, but I'm gonna prove it to you. And then you're gonna tell me you were wrong. Yes, you are. I'm gonna make you tell me. Because you're a man of integrity and honor, and I'm gonna make you tell me, because I'm gonna make you eat your words. We are gonna reform the New Orleans Police Department. It is the number one priority in the city of New Orleans. This city cannot be safe. We cannot be at peace. We cannot be free if we do not have a police department that is doing the right thing. All right. So yes, ma'am. I'm not the one reason why the Justice Department is in the city. I did invite them in. What that means is the nurse on the city's mayor said you can come in, and they'll fight with them for years before they actually get a hold of you, and they always do. So I invited them to come in and try to partner with them. I brought in Chief Surpass. His task is to change the department. If he doesn't change the department, he's not going to be here either. All right. And all of these commanders that work for us, if they don't do their job, they're not going to be here. Just like all of these folks here, if they don't do their jobs, they're not going to be here either, and neither am I. We're going to change the police department. Now, I want you to know, Malcolm, and I want all of you to know that I am fully aware because I am from Priya Street. All right, I want y'all to know that. I grew up in Priya and General Persian. If you want to know anything about me, go by my neighborhood and forget where I grew up. All right, I grew up jumping fences just like a lot of other people in this room do, too. Okay, and I know how to get away. They ain't never gonna catch me. Not in my neighborhood. All right. And so I want you to know that I don't think that the police department, although we've got a lot of wonderful people there, we've got some systemic problems in the police department. We have not historically had good training, not the kind of training that I feel good about. We have not had good management. We have not had a lot of stuff that we need, right? Now, that's just not to disparage everybody on the department. We have a lot of good people, but there's no question that we got to do a lot better. And this team that's in place right now is being tasked with getting it done. It is my number one priority because it's your number one priority, right? Reducing the murder rate, getting crime down, but most importantly, getting something for our kids to do, right? That gives them a great opportunity to grow up and do the things that we know they have the opportunity to do, because at the end of the day, we're all working for. So it's all at the end of the day. The city needs to be safe. The city needs to be smart. And the city needs to go to work. Those are the three things we need. And everything that we're doing is moving us in that direction. So you've heard me say, how are we going to do it? Reform the police department. We're going to invest in NARD. We're going to do juvenile justice and get that youth study center right. We're going to do that job training stuff that Mike talked about. We're from the beginning, right? If you live in the feed, we're going to find a job over at the VA. Then we're going to do worker training to get you there. On the streets, we've started to work on that. The street lights are getting fixed. The potholes are getting filled. We got some big issues that we don't know the answers to right now. I don't. How are we going to pay for all the new sewage stuff that we're going to do? How are we going to do the interior streets? I don't know the answer to that either, but I'm going to figure it out. right? And I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to say, look, this is the best I can do about my recommendations. And you're going to tell me whether I have the permission to do it. And then we're going to keep talking to each other and we're going to keep working. And this city eventually is going to be the great city that all of us know that it can be. But we got to keep doing that. So I want to thank you for coming tonight. I really do appreciate the civility that you worked with. Wait, hold on one second. I just want to honor my promise. For those 12 people that did not get a chance to speak publicly, I'm going to stand right here. And if you just kind of come up and just respect each other, we'll first come, first serve. I'll listen to you, and then we'll take it from there. Come see us at the budget hearings. God bless you all, and good night.